So I'm going to start off with giving you a cheers through the screen there.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't have a water with me, so I'll
no,
just cheers
nothing
through
on
the
hand. Yeah, give it
thumbs
a
up.
nice thumbs
I can
up.
go grab a Diet Coke real quick. Um,
But today we're going to do another episode of Sports Talk, and we're going to look at big topics: the World Cup, obviously, free agency, what all shook out in the NBA, as that really escalated since last time we did this. Then going to jump into shortly about the UFC. Can't remember which number it was, but we'll get into that. We're going to hit on a little bit of the Tour de France and then college football, make some early predictions, and then we're going to last just end with a fun little question of how we would shape our NBA team.
mhm.
So to kick it off, I'm curious to hear what are your thoughts about the World Cup and overall how everything shaked out and went.
I think the best team. I mean, I'm a Spain fan anyway, so the best for me. I think the best team won. Even though they really didn't look that great against Cape Verde, which is the only team they drew against the entire World Cup or held them to within a whatever score. But Spain was the clear favorite. They blew everybody out basically. Um, and in terms of like time of possession, goals against. So they held clean sheets too. Their defense was incredible this run. This is probably one of the best Spain teams in a since 2010. I was gonna say that probably one of the best World Cup teams then too. They won the Euros, they won the World Cup. Probably missing a tournament there too, but they've been an incredible international squad, and they firmly deserve it. I'm surprised England didn't make it. England was hot too, but I mean France, Argentina. Argentina was they just not get they just weren't on the same place as Spain at all. It was just the time of possession. They didn't get a shot on goal for a very long time. I think maybe they had one, but it's just an incredible masterclass by Spain. And it's no shock that they won the tournament. They were one of the favorites coming in. For 81 seconds, I guess the United States we had a shot to win the World Cup against Belgium when we were tied, but the right team won.
Yeah, that USA game was a very tough one to watch. I personally am not the most massive soccer fan, but I turned on the USA game and I could almost pick up immediately that that game was not going to go in our way. There
Mm-hmm.
was something in the air when you just saw Belgium off the rip, really kind of coming out and throwing the first punches. It did not look too good, and then after that, after it went up to about, I think it was pretty much 2-1 or 3-1, it was like, well, I think our ship might have sailed, unfortunately.
Yeah, and we just did. I mean, it's one of those things where like the USA, like it's one of those like it's like if an SEC, if you're playing like a bunch of like not to trash the ACC, but if you're playing a bunch of ACC teams, right, or AAC teams, and then you play somebody like a Bama or Georgia, there's a clear difference there in terms of like the talent, in terms of like the coaching's fine. Good, Pochettino did a good job this tournament. There's nothing you can do about the talent you have. You got to use. It's not like international football. You can just buy players with through the transfer fees and transfer portal there.
Right.
But it's a clear difference of talent. We just don't have the talent. We really don't. We're 20 years away from maybe even becoming an elite team because that would force a lot of our athletes that are in basketball and football to just suddenly quit those sports and go play soccer. Um,
I
but
just don't see that happening.
I just don't see that the way the American culture is just not. It's not built around soccer. It's built around football, baseball, basketball. In some regions over here in DC and the northeast, it's hockey too. A lot of talent in this area does go play hockey. But it's just with soccer, there's so many. The thing with it is so many teams like the Greenville Triangle. They want to. I saw a pitch that they want to establish like a Premier League system the way they have promotion and relegation, which would make the league interesting, especially like MLS.
Mhm.
It would help, especially it would help out a lot of local teams too. But I just don't know if that's possible or if that's even they would even go for that. But fun experiment. Since considering Germany when they had their World Cup woes in 2000 or whatever, figured out what to do in terms of their leagues and all that kind of other stuff to win the World Cup eventually in 12 years, 13 years later, or 14 years later. But I mean, for U.S. soccer, it would take a generational shift to go play soccer to be able to reach on elite levels. I mean, this core, they would it would take hard. It would you have to like suddenly for if basketball players suddenly happen to go play soccer, it would take them years to learn the skills that a current somebody in Europe has had for since they were like 8 years old. Because if you watch, there's this video circling around of Barcelona's like 8-year-olds playing soccer, and they look more technically and more like skillful and tactically better than like our men's national team does like right now. Like they like La Masia, they produced Messi, they produced Lamine Yamal, who's the Spain one of Spain's like wonder kids, who's plays for Barcelona himself. But they started like 6 years old, 5 years old over there, and we do that too, but not to the level of La Masia or the other trainings. The other training camp grounds that the big Premier League or big European clubs have.
Yeah, I think that's you hit it right on the head when you say it would take about a generational gap there to get
Yeah.
to where you're competing because there's just so much money in other sports and like getting poured into it from like a young age from
Mm-hmm.
basketball and football. I just think also those are more popular. I think you don't have many people that are going to play like soccer games as much. I think soccer is kind of seen as like a second tier sport almost. I think people really enjoy it, and I think there's
Yeah.
definitely people that play it. But I think once I don't know, I don't know if people just see it more feasible as like to go into like the NBA or NFL, and that's what you're going to strive for, versus
Yeah.
like going to play in like the Euro League. You know?
Well, it's like one of those things that, like, if you look at international sports, for example, the biggest stars are Ronaldo, Messi, Lamine Yamal, not Gareth Bale. I'm sorry, Harry Kane. Like the big outside of the United States, the biggest stars are soccer players. Like that's not even a question. Like there's no question there. In the America, it's your biggest stars are Patrick Mahomes, Mike Trout, Aaron Judge,
LeBron.
LeBron James, LeBron James, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Wembanyama now. Wembanyama's global, but still in the United States, you can a household Steph Curry. So it's a house like there's no household names. I mean, now it's Messi because if he plays it for Miami now,
Right.
but there's no household names that are like playing in American soccer that you could just easily pick. Like, if I go ask my mom or my grandmother, they would know who they are. Like
Right.
in the rest of the world, there's people in the slums of the world who know who Messi and Ronaldo is, or who know who they are, and then Lamine Yamal or whoever. But over here, it's just not a thing. But that doesn't mean that soccer. I mean that soccer is a bad sport. I love soccer. Soccer is an amazing sport to watch, especially when you know like tactics and you know the formations and everything, and you know the coaching, the way that how a manager operates, and like what Pochettino operates, like a Jose Mourinho operates, a Jurgen Klopp operates. But it's just we don't have that here yet, if ever. But I mean, it's still a popular sport in the world. But it's just not the level of football, basketball, baseball here.
Yeah. I don't know if it will ever be able to. I think it just captures people's interest whenever the World Cup's on. People are
Mm-hmm.
interested whenever they can unite around, a Team USA team going to play.
Yeah.
I think that grabs people's interest. I think it's hard though to get invested really in MLS or any other unless you just like soccer that much.
Yeah.
But
But I hope.
football's like on in the fall all the time. Everyone's gonna have it on in their house.
Mhm.
Like it's gonna be on. Basketball is, I don't think it's quite to that. I would say football probably beats it there. But
Mhm.
basketball, most people aren't gonna be like change the channel from that. Like probably
Yeah.
gonna leave it on, especially you get to like March Madness or NBA playoff time.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think that I don't know. I have not walked into really a ton or any households that it's like soccer was on outside of this special this time
Oh,
of
I
the
have.
year.
Oh, I have. Trust me, I have.
I,
Don't worry,
I,
I have.
I've not had that experience. It's just
Look
typically
who I
not
grew
on.
up, dude.
That's that's all you then. That's all you. I can't say that
but
they're
I
not.
but I will say, like, in terms of growth of the game, this World Cup was a massive success. I mean, they had fan zones all over the country. I know Houston had one. My dad was working it. DC didn't. They basically gave it to the big cities that didn't host a World Cup. Um, DC had one in front of the Capitol, and for every Team USA game, it was packed to the brim. And then there's also the bars too. Like you have to be there 2 hours before kickoff at the bars to even get like a standing room. So like there was a legitimate excitement about this World Cup, in terms of like Team USA, in terms of other countries. But I genuinely know that it did grow the game, and it was awesome to see
Mm-hmm.
people like foreigners who are here for the first time, or who come here who've been here a lot but never really explored the United States. That they got to see how great the United States is and our culture and everything, and obviously like you see them appreciate the United States. They're like, wow, we actually live in a pretty good country, despite what others say and the media says too. So it's that type of stuff that makes you proud to be an American. And in terms of the war, I mean, we're already looking at potentially hosting, like, I think 2038, because of how much of a success this World Cup was. But it was an awesome time to be in the country too, and then following this tournament. And I hope to see it come back in our lifetimes.
Yeah, I think in that terms, it really brought everyone. I think everyone enjoyed it. The
Mm-hmm.
fact of getting, I liked all the videos going around of like Europeans trying like American foods and stuff, or going to
Right.
like the bars, whatever.
And
Especially the
Freddie's adventure to the United States,
yeah,
who ended up literally just on Twitter 2 months ago to ask about the United States, and ended up at the White House the other day. So that was a pretty cool story to watch him go through all the college towns and become an L. Langley fan, like the rest of us, become an Ella fella. So, but it was pretty cool to see that type of content on Twitter. But again, it was from in my eyes, it was a resounding success.
I would agree. Especially Jameis Winston's videos that he was
Mm-hmm.
involved in.
Yep.
What a funny guy. I so yeah, I think in terms of maybe for the USA didn't win the cup, and maybe I don't know if that's ever in the card for us, but in terms of it being here, I think it was a great cultural success and a great
Mm-hmm.
experience for everyone
Yep.
that got to kind of be there and be in those big towns or in those kind of like hangout spots where people
Yep.
are traveling. I think probably the U.S. productivity shot down every game day, I would imagine, because 3 o'clock games was a brutal time to schedule those and act like everyone's going to still be at work. So maybe next time, make it a little bit, put it at 5:30, let everyone get off. But
Yeah, but it was also at the same time they were like appealing the Europeans who are a different time zone as us, so that's probably why they had the 3:30 kick for like the
oh,
main
100%.
the big games. Like the group games were timed perfectly. They were like 12 p.m., 3 p.m., 6 p.m., and then they had a nightcap at like 11 p.m., which is on the West Coast. But in terms of like the game, the championship rounds, like the semifinals and the quarterfinals, like they're in the middle of the day, and that's probably because the Europeans are what, if it's 3 o'clock there, if it's 3 o'clock here in Eastern time, it's gonna be what, 9 o'clock over there, or
I'd
like
imagine that sounds
like
about
6 o'clock.
right.
It's prime time for them. So, and the rest of the world too. So they didn't want to alienate that audience of like, hey, like if this game is at like 9 p.m. at night over here in the
London's
in the
five
states, it's
hours
gonna be,
ahead.
yeah, so
So
they don't want them, I guess they didn't want them to be like two a.m. over the 3 a.m. to watch their team. But I
yeah,
mean, it was just it was a greatly run tournament too. So I mean, it was cool to watch. It was really cool to watch.
I think it'll be
But
very fun now that
now we're
yeah,
on to American football. Now we're in the
yeah.
we're in
Now we're
what
back.
one literally a month away from week 0. We're less than a month away from week 0. So
getting timed up for kickoff there.
Yep.
But I'm going to be curious now. See, I think just culture wise, the LA Olympics, that's going to be interesting to come and see how that all goes. Hopefully, it's another resounding success for everybody,
Yep.
and everyone gets to enjoy it. But we will get there when we get there.
Yep.
So I think now the more American sport at this moment, the NBA had very interesting off season, you might say.
Yep.
And the drama with LeBron, and I believe he held out his decision until after the World Cup, so everyone would talk about him. I got to say it. I think it was a little self-centered as we all waited for weeks to hear where he was going to go. And he's now a 76er, if you happen to live under a rock and did not know that. To me, I think it's a fairly good fit. It is not my preferred destination of where he would go, but yeah, you kind of countered that, and you think it is the best spot he could have landed. Interested to hear that out a little bit more.
Yeah, because originally I know you wanted him to go to Golden State to play his last year with Curry, which is, I mean, from a PR purposes, that would have been awesome to watch. Especially like you to have a retirement tour with both of them basically on the
Hmm.
same team with Draymond, and Draymond's back with Golden State too. That was a decision. I guess he was waiting for LeBron to figure out the cap space situation. He's like, I'm going back to Golden State. But with the 76ers, it's a clear, you get out of the West, a stacked Western Conference. You go to the East where the Knicks is based. The Knicks are the team to beat. Which I mean, now with the 76ers, the way they're constructed, they're a team that can probably take it to the Knicks. And then in a 7-game series, VJ Edge comes there. Tyrese Maxey's been a star. Insert LeBron James. All you really need is Embiid to be healthy, and it's a big if. But if I mean on in terms of on paper, they look like an NBA Finals contender with LeBron James in the lineup and with the bench they have. So it's gonna be a very fun team to watch. I'm interested to see how they integrate as a team as it goes along. Um, I'm surprised he didn't choose Miami a little bit since he's been there before and an opportunity to play with Giannis. But I think LeBron was looking to well, I can win a championship. I probably have a better shot of winning a championship in Philadelphia than I do Miami at this point. In Cleveland, I wouldn't. I don't think he would go back to Cleveland for the third time. I just didn't see him winning with that roster anyways. Where they're like Donovan Mitchell and James Harden. I don't think he wants to probably play with James Harden, taking 30 shots a game and making 12. So, I mean, it's Philadelphia. I think is the best route for him. Timberwolves would have been interesting too. I did see that floated around with
Yeah,
Anthony Edwards and LaMelo Ball. He would have probably been a great veteran leader for both, especially LaMelo. And then Anthony Edwards has been a star in his league for 3-4 years now. But
right.
Philadelphia's going to be a fun team to watch. Boston's. I mean, they got Jaylen Brown too. How did I forget about Jaylen Brown?
Yeah, that was
They
the other
stole
big
him
piece.
from they stole him from the Celtics. They gave up Paul George, who's like 5 years past his prime, get him on the 76ers. But it's gonna be. I mean, the one thing you got to really watch for is how Jaylen Brown operates. I mean, he was a guy who really wanted to be the star player on his own team, but then now he's got to play with Maxey and Embiid and LeBron, he's become the third option on that team, maybe, right? I mean,
Right.
even though he was a 28-point guy last year, without Jason Tatum, or 20, somewhere around that range. Now he's talked all this mess on the podcast and his own Twitch stream or whatever, and was
Hmm.
like, I want to be the starter on my own team. I had a lot of fun this year, but then now you're on a team where you're probably the third or fourth option, depending on who you're playing. So it's gonna be interesting to see how they operate. I mean, they could be a team that the ceiling is the NBA Finals champions, or the floor is like you're a second round exit because number one, Embiid's not healthy. Number two, Jaylen Brown just is a complete clown, and really the team chemistry just isn't there. But I don't see that from a LeBron James team of having team chemistry problems because I mean in his tenure I don't think he's ever had a team That's maybe on the Lakers past couple of years, maybe. In those end of run Cavs teams, but I mean, LeBron's always been the type of guy to keep the team together, and especially in the times they need it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be more interesting with this team, however, because you have Jaylen Brown with all his off the court issues that have kind of been apparent coming to
Mm-hmm.
surface. Maxi, I think will probably be fine. He seems like a young star, really coming into his role. Kind of reminds me of that like Kyrie, pretty much
Mm-hmm.
when LeBron went to the Cavs, a young star getting into their prime.
Yep.
So I see them meshing well if he's still trying to put his foot on the gas and grow. So he's probably very receptive to coming under the wing per se.
Oh yeah.
And then Embiid is the biggest wild card. I don't like ever betting on him to finish a season. I
Mm-hmm.
really don't know how many seasons he's played or how many games he's played in his whole tenure, but I have to imagine it's not the best
I
record.
think I think the Bill Simmons podcast. It's like he's played 48 games in 2 years or something like that since his MVP season. So
Mhm.
it's a big wild card of Embiid. If he can stay healthy. Um, but I mean, who knows? Maybe they trade Embiid. I don't know. But
I don't
I
think
mean,
you want to.
it's really comes on Embiid's health too.
The only problem with Embiid though is if he's out, then the load that I would imagine LeBron's gonna have to carry would grow astronomically.
Mm-hmm.
Versus if a healthy Embiid is dominant. I don't think anyone argues that at
Yeah.
all. It's more just can he stay on the court, and that's the biggest. That's a factor. Availability. Are you going to be available to play tonight? And he, to me, does not check that box. Has not in his career.
Yep.
So I. It makes me a little bit nervous. The only positive is you have a good young set of players that can pretty
Yep.
much go play, can carry the
Yep.
load for the most part. Of a Maxi can go out and get buckets. Jaylen Brown has proof he can as long as he's not in a bad headspace. He's
Yep.
playing, and along with their shooting guard, I can't think of his name.
Is it VJ Edgecombe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
I
mean,
think it's
he's a
VJ.
solid guy to have out
Yep.
there. But what I still would have liked to see with the Warriors is you had the rumor of LeBron going there and getting with Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis has all the availability problems I already mentioned with Embiid, but
Yeah.
dominant on the court when he's on the court. But what you do know is you have Steph Curry who can play the best Robin of all time if he needs to. If he needs to just not touch the ball and run around and run a marathon out there and just catch and shoot it, he can. He proved it when KD came there. He can do it. And if he needs to be, Superman, he can step into that role just as easy. I've seen him go
Mm-hmm.
out there and have some of the, most made 3 pointers, high scoring games history. Can do either
Yep.
play. Draymond, defensive mastermind, gonna go just get rebounds. LeBron could play that kind of maestro of does he want to just dominate and get that focus onto him?
Yeah.
On that team, who do you double? Who are you bringing the matchup to? Who
He
you
could have
leaving
been
on the
he
line
could
with?
have been an interesting point forward too. Um,
Yeah, that's where I
especially
think
if
he
you
could.
have Steph Curry running at the shooting guard. He could have
Mhm.
really expanded that lineup and be like, okay, LeBron's a point forward. It'd have been a
That's
very hard offense to stop.
that's exactly my thought. The only thing that they don't have that I think made him kind of lean to the 76ers is those solid young legs and talent to take
Yep.
you in that playoff run. Because the Warriors right now, I don't really love their whole bench. I'm not massive on Pods. He's all right. Not a huge fan. So to
I
me,
think they
it's like
lack
the
a center
70s.
too, right?
Huh?
I think they lack a center too, right? That's probably one of the biggest things LeBron was looking at because that was
I
his
think
biggest
it
complaint with
is.
the Lakers too.
But if you get Anthony Davis and Draymond out there, I mean, you're running a very large. I mean, you don't really need a true center, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
because your height is so much. You're kind of
Yeah.
making up for it there. Of how's that team going to be able to match up? If you're running a small five, basically, of Draymond or Anthony Davis as the five, quote unquote.
Well, their
But
biggest problems would have been like getting in the playoffs and playing like a Chet Holmgren or a Wembanyama or a Jokic, where you're playing against a true center. and you're having to play Anthony Davis as a center position, who's a power forward.
I think
But
you
I mean,
do, but
it would have been an interesting matchup. It would have been interesting matchups to figure out what they
you
would
do
have.
have Kristaps though. So Kristaps was also
True.
on there. So I mean, you'd have if you put Kristaps, Draymond, Anthony Davis, LeBron, and Curry out there as your five. That's a pretty tall lineup
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
player. And I think you're running Steph as like a shooting guard, really, but LeBron as a point. Like, I mean, you're gonna have some night matchup problems of who's gonna be able to keep up. I just think playing 82 games is where your problem falls in. That's where you get issues,
yeah.
and that's why I think it didn't work out. I think everyone's curious to see how the 76ers team does. The thing I'm also curious about now, does Steph leave the Warriors and go look for another team? Which I've seen a couple of rumor mills going around about that now. Don't know how
Mm-hmm.
true that will come to fruition or not. But I don't blame him if he leaves. You haven't gotten anyone in 5, 6 years to come there. You got Jimmy, who's a B-list star, but not really. He's not what he was at all.
Yeah,
And you couldn't land anyone this free agency.
they haven't drafted well either. Like
No.
they have not. They've which is crazy because they were known in the 2010s for drafting extremely well. But it also doesn't help. I think Bob Myers, who built the Warriors, is literally on
Mm-hmm.
the 76ers right now. So,
Yep.
and they fired Morey to get him, and he's had an incredible offseason this year. Really revamped that entire roster. But I mean, if Curry wants to leave the Warriors, he's definitely going to go to a championship contender. He's not going to go to some random one-off team. But he still has. For me, I think Curry still has a lot of years left in him. Great shooter. You can't really like teach that. So,
No.
it'll be interesting to see what he does. Basically, they haven't drafted well. They haven't done free agency well in 5-6 years. 20. I think their 22 title was probably like their last like hurrah as an organization under the Curry years, maybe, or in the Curry era. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. Maybe he's a trade deadline guy where he's just the Warriors are in the play-in run again, and Curry's like looking at the landscape of the NBA. He's like, maybe I want a different team. Maybe we'll figure it out. I love Golden State, but I want to win another championship, and I think I can still give good minutes for one of the top 5 teams in the East or the West, and then give somebody maybe Detroit, even get a shooter next to Kate Cunningham, and I think I thought we talked about this on the last time I was on this thing that Cade needs a second option, needs another scorer too. Not saying Curry's a second option because he'd probably be
Yep.
immediately the first option on that Pistons team,
Right.
but you need a secondary scorer besides Cade Cunningham, and if Steph Curry goes to the Pistons, it's a pretty damn good team playing against the Knicks or the now 76ers or the Heat. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting hypotheticals you can float around for the next 8 months. And Curry would be an incredible option for any of the top 5 teams if the Warriors are not contending.
My thought is he does not end the NBA. I think next free agency, we're going to see him on a different team. I don't know if that's at the trade deadline or at the end of the year, whatever it may be. But I think this is the last bit here. I think
Mm-hmm.
he's to me, he seems like a true competitor if he wants to win up until the very end. And realistically, you have a handful of years now. I think
Yep.
we're seeing some legendary performances, I think, through sports science and all of this that you can play longer, but Father Time will always be undefeated at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So for his prime years, and I think if he wanted to play not into his prime years as a role player, he definitely could, but I imagine that's a major hit to his ego, and I don't think he
Yeah.
would want to do that. But I think the East is probably where you go. If you stay in the West, I love the Spurs. Personally, I would love
Yeah.
to see a De'Aaron Fox for Steph Curry alert from Shams pop up on my phone. I think that'd be a
Mm-hmm.
great trade. Salary cap wise, I'm pretty sure it would work out. And can you imagine that that whole team because you'd have the completely young roster. You'd have Victor as a centerpiece, and you'd have Steph running.
Keep
Basically, you have
Cap,
to run it
keep
out.
Harper. Yeah, with Wemby and Stephen Curry as the point, that's probably the best. I mean, outside of OKC, which are gonna have their problems the next like year with the way the league is now structured. I mean,
Hmm.
that's probably the best team in the West, if we're being honest.
Yeah,
Like there's that's gonna be a hard team to beat. But it'll be a fun watch if that happens. And they
I
also
will
need a
agree.
veteran leadership who's been to many championships.
Hmm.
And also the same thing with a little caveat, whatever. Like NBA stars don't stay on the same teams anymore. He's like the last of his generation to stay on like
Yeah.
one team for his entire career. LeBron's left, KD's left at least once, Kawhi's left, Paul George has left a couple times, Jimmy Butler's left a couple other teams too.
Hmm.
So he's really even Klay Thompson left too.
Right.
So I mean, he's literally the last. I think Giannis left, so, and that's something we haven't seen. I mean, we thought would never happen. He would leave the Bucks, but I mean, it's just he's like the only guy of like the dying breed. But is it now to a point where where he wants to like take a risk and go to a contending team and get one more title, two more titles.
I would like to see him go win another title, and I just don't see it happening in Golden State personally. I-
Mm-hmm.
Very, NBA can change fast and things can move around and shuffle, but I don't see it. To me, if they were going to do something, they would have made a move. And as cool as it would be
Yeah.
to say that he stayed in Golden State his whole career, I'd rather see him go play somewhere else and win another one, just as like
Yeah.
fan. But
I mean,
I
the
mean,
only
there's
person.
so many teams I'd be interesting to see him on. You know, like
Mhm. I mean, the only people who he's competing with is literally the top 10 NBA players of all time, and then competing with Magic Johnson to be the best point guard of all time. He's already the greatest shooter of all time. Uh, but I
but if
mean,
you go
he's
to an
literally competing against Ghost at this point. Like he's done everything he can in a career, and if he wins one more title, he's probably surpasses Magic, maybe, and then is probably in the top 10 of all time.
I think he's hands down. If he wins another one, I mean, it's just I don't see Magic as even a comparison of the fact that his resume. I mean, is pretty
Oh,
outstanding. Magic Johnson was pretty much LeBron before LeBron, and
mm-hmm.
you're playing against weaker competition, and you also got a Kareem on your team for some of it. I just don't. I'm not saying Magic was bad, but I just think if I'm picking the best point guard of all time, I'm putting Curry
Yeah.
like as that one.
The one thing, if I'm playing devil's advocate for Magic, I would say that Curry did have Thompson, Draymond, Kevin Durant, the 7-8 deep lineup they had way back in the day whenever they made those like three-peat runs, especially in 2015 and 17, 18, 19, those runs. That was if I'm a Magic Johnson fan, if I'm debating in favor for him, that would be my argument for Magic. But going back to where we're at with Steph, I mean, if he wins another one, realistically, there's really no debate there. I mean, he's the greatest point guard ever, and at that point, you're comparing him next to like guys like Tim Duncan, who've won 5 rings,
Hmm.
um, and probably comparing him against like 7, 8, 9, and on the top 10 list of all
Yeah, I
time.
think you move into that top five pretty. I think right now it's hard to put him over like a Jordan LeBron. Like Jordan LeBron, Kobe are pretty
Jordan,
stoutly up
LeBron,
there.
Kareem, Shaq,
Shaq is
Magic
another
Johnson,
dominant.
Larry Bird, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Kareem, Bill Russell. Those guys, it's pretty hard to put Curry above those guys right now. But if he wins another one, you're probably in the debate. Like he probably be past his Kirby. I'm sorry, not Kobe. He
Mm.
probably is on the same level as Kobe, or passes him a little bit.
I would put him on the same level. When you got five, and for Kobe got two of them without Shaq, I would put Curry as getting another one at pretty much the 2022 one. I think put
That
him
was
in
his best
another
one, I think.
class.
I think that
Oh,
was his best one.
Oh, 100%. There was, I mean, you had a kind of faded Draymond and Clay at the going downhill on their prime, not
Mm-hmm.
terrible players. You had some help from Jordan Poole, but the amazing thing is you made Andrew Wiggins look like a star player out of nowhere.
Yeah,
Of And so to me, that's where it's like, okay. And then also you look at that stat line, you go to Boston and just dominate them
it
in
was like game
game.
4, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you take all the smoke and you just won it all. And I don't know how you. I think that's what set it apart personally. But let alone if you can go to another team and win another one
Yeah.
and show that you're really that piece, that you're the part that matters, that to me would make a difference.
Yeah, because he has 4 right now, right? He has
Hmm.
150. He has 15, 16. He has 17, 18, 18, 19. Right? No, he
I
has.
believe
He
he has
has.
four.
I think
I
he
swear.
has 4. Maybe he has 3. 15,
I'm pretty sure
16,
it's four.
17, 18. No, 16, 17. Because he beat. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's coming back now because he thinks. No, it was 2014, 2015. He think they won, right? Because it was 15, 16. The Cavs won, and then
I
16,
love the
17.
I like the AI error, unless it
Mm-hmm.
just predicted the script. But he has four. So 2015, 17, 18, 2022. And then it has a fifth one listed as 2026. He defeats the 76ers to win his fifth title.
Uh oh.
What a lineup chat's writing right now.
I have no idea, man. But if he has 4, I mean, he gets him in the Tim Duncan range,
He also has a
the Kobe
unanimous
range.
MVP. Let's not forget that.
Yeah.
only
So he had
only
that at
one.
what? He had that what? I think 15, 16, 17, or
Mm-hmm.
15, 16. That the Game 7 Cavs year.
Yeah.
That was the unanimous MVP year. But I mean, it was. I mean, he's had an incredible career. I mean, I used to hate Curry because he played against my Rockets every single playoff series and eliminated us.
Rough
And
time.
we should have won in 17, 18 with the Chris Paul
Mm-hmm.
year. We should
Yeah.
have won. That was the best Rockets team I think I'll ever see. Um,
Didn't you
and
shoot like 1 for 40 that game?
they shot 1 for 30 from the three, and they lost by 8 points still that game. If they hit a couple of those threes, it's a different story, a different world.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he's been an incredible player. And now I've gotten older. I'm like, I appreciate this guy a lot more, especially since he was kicking my Rockets all over the place 10 years ago.
Right.
Um, just an incredible player. He is. So
Is there anyone else moving
be honest,
around it? Well, Giannis. I think we hit on Giannis last time as well, but
we hit
Giannis
on
still.
Giannis. I predicted Boston, and Boston is, man, they've really fallen in the East. Um,
Yeah, not a
especially since,
contender.
yeah, not a contender anymore. It's crazy to see. I mean, they won the championship 3 years ago, 2 years ago now, and they just completely
Mm-hmm.
gutted team. But I mean, they can make the playoffs, but no, they're not beating anybody significant. So
No. Kawhi is the other one. Kawhi to the Raptors in the East. I think that's also kind of a mute point. I think that'll be a playoff team. I don't think they're gonna take it though. I
mm-mm.
think right now you're looking at Knicks, 76ers. I'd probably put the Heat honestly up there as the team to watch, but
Yeah.
I think Knicks and 76ers are everyone's favorite coming out of the East.
Well, it's
I don't.
funny because you think of Kawhi going to the Raptors. I'm like, I think I talked about this last time. Like, he should have never left the Raptors, anyways. Especially since if you look back at that team, at OG Anunoby, at Pascal Siakam, Kyle Lowry, Kawhi Leonard. Like 5 or 6 years ago, that would have been an incredible team to probably win another championship. And then
Mhm.
he just goes to LA and practically just wastes his time there. He didn't really win anything
Didn't really
significant there.
play either.
Didn't really play. I mean, but in Toronto, he won one championship for them. He's like the best player in Raptors history. They love him there, so it's pretty cool to see him back. But I mean, you in hindsight 2020, you're like, man, he should have really stayed in the Raptors because they really could have probably won another championship or two.
Yeah, I think you run it back a couple of years. I believe you probably go at least get a fighting shot at another one. I don't see
Yeah,
you not getting another title shot. Although that Warriors team definitely wins that game if you don't get KD with a torn Achilles and then Clay with an ACL.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I mean, they really lucked out on that scope, and still had a chance at the end to tie it. I don't think they win the series still, but could have tied it, forced another game. But
Yeah,
regardless,
they were
it would
gas. I
have been
think Curry was
interesting.
dealing with an injury too.
Mm-hmm.
They just ran out of they literally ran out of gas. The car, like a Lamborghini, just ran out of gas. It's oh yeah, that's what the Warriors team was. Like they had their like seventh man on the floor starting like in the final like 5 minutes of that game.
Yeah,
So
tough place to
they were
be.
just gone.
Um, yeah, I think East is the first time I'm actually pretty interested to see how it goes. Pacers are
Mm-hmm.
also another one now that you have Halliburton, I believe, coming back this season, and he looked. I think I saw him throw down a dunk between the legs this on Instagram, so I believe he'll be back at full force.
Yep.
So I mean, that's a team to watch. That it's pretty much the same team, I believe, for the most part, made their championship run. So
Chicago should
and,
be a lot of fun this year. The number I think they got what are the Caleb Wilson or whatever his name is,
mhm.
who killed it in spring summer camp or whatever summer league. But they're high on Caleb Wilson in Chicago. So
a lot of teams I'd like to watch in the East. I can't say that it's been that way for most years, but
oh
they do
yeah,
have my interest now. So
Utah
hopefully,
should be fun too. But I mean, I don't think Utah's probably a year away from contending. But they have a really solid core there too.
yeah, West is just going to be more of a. It's always just a scrap. I don't know, more scrappy to get a spot up there. And I think as
Mm-hmm.
a young team, it's going to struggle a lot more than. There's not a lot of forgiveness over there.
No,
So we'll definitely see how that goes. Denver could be interesting next year, depending on what Jokic does. I don't know.
yeah,
I think Jokic is coming up now for end of his contract. Does he stay there now that they haven't really done anything in a couple years? Jamal Murray's really fallen off also. I mean, he made the 2020 and 2021 run where he was a top guard, but
yeah,
now the past couple of years, he's I don't know, kind of moved into that B tier of not as dominant as he was. So
yeah.
I mean, a lot of teams to watch.
Who knows? Maybe Curry stays in Golden State and they lure Jokic to go play with him in Golden State. I don't know.
That would be
That's a
an.
pretty. They would have the cap room, I guess, too. At that point, I mean, it's really just only Curry and would be Jokic on the roster, and Curry, especially when Curry retires, you have Jokic in Golden State. Where I mean, the same like even Durant, like we criticized Durant for that move. From a business perspective, it helped him launch a lot of business ventures, and so maybe Jokic wants to launch business ventures and look towards the end of his career where he just has a lot of he can just fire a lot of money into Silicon Valley, like Durant
Maybe
did.
I think Jokic is
But
only interested in horse racing. It's the only
he's
problem.
only yeah, that's also true. Maybe he wants to go to New York and go to the stables or whatever.
Maybe.
But I have no idea. But it would be an interesting team if Curry does stay in Golden State, they lure Jokic to the Warriors. I don't know about the Lakers, but I mean we'll see. We'll see. But I don't think he. Since I don't think he stays in the Nuggets for his career though.
I don't think so. I think he moves team. So that will be something to watch. I think this trade deadline could get interesting. Could
Mm-hmm.
pick up very much.
Yep.
So once again, probably not going to watch the NBA until after Christmas time, and
Yep.
some real solid opinions. Now the next kind of short bit is the UFC was um, interesting at parts and very disappointing at other parts. You had Conor McGregor, who hyped up the whole thing. I think everyone just enjoys getting him to see to go out there as he's just such a spectacle,
Yeah.
such a draws the people in, gets everybody going. That feisty little accent, and then he goes out there and throws a spinning kick and is done within 30 seconds. I mean, that was disappointing to see.
Yeah.
I I don't understand what happened before then. If he was injured going into it, or I don't know if you are. Why do you come out and throw that kick? I don't really understand a lot of what was going on. But that was a
Mm-hmm.
major disappointment. I mean, extremely bad when you never want to see someone end on an injury, especially non-contact. Well,
Yep.
I guess that should be specified in the UFC because you get injured. That's kind of
That's the point of the game. Yeah, that's the name of the game. But I mean, like as you said, it was disappointing. But McGregor, I mean, I think if McGregor could be fighting a like petal of flowers and still pull. So it's just spectacle of the guy now at this point. But from in terms of like his fighting, his overall career, I think he should have just called it. And there's no he
yeah.
wants to come back and fight one more time. But after that performance, he just really he's lost he hasn't won a fight I think in 10 years really. Um,
No,
so
I don't see how you make him a main event or a main like the main card on a fight anymore. I think the only way I see him fighting again if it's just as like a kind of a low, low. I don't know. Just put his name on the ballot. Really, like that's kind of the only reason I'd see doing it.
yeah, I mean he's probably a co-main event guy because of the money he brings in. But you gotta put it. He's not a main event guy no more.
Mm,
That's probably what maybe 8 years past.
yeah,
But I mean, it was just sad to watch. Now the other guy who's pretty interesting to watch is Paddy Pimblett.
Patty the
Great performance.
Batty.
Paddy the Batty, man, great performance on literally the same card as the McGregor fight. I think 2-3 weeks ago. But he's fun fighter to watch. One of the UFC's brightest stars. So they should probably promote him a lot more than they already do, which is a lot already. So
I mean, it was
um,
a massive win for him too. He came out and he had one of the probably greatest headlocks put in. I mean, he had that guy, and he just had him completely. Held it for pretty long time until finally got the submission.
mhm.
But watching his entrance every time, where you got the crowd just chanting "Patty the Batty," it's such a fun. He's just such a fun like guy to
Yeah,
watch. You
he's
know, it's
electric.
yeah, he gets the people going, and that's what you really need. So I definitely recommend anyone that's never seen him in an entrance or watch his videos. He's a funny guy, but the crowd loves him, and I think that's a big part.
Yep, I agree with you. I agree with you there. I don't. I mean, the UFC is in a pretty good place right now. Regardless, even though the McGregor thing was a big stinker, people are still hyped about the UFC event they had in the White House. They have a pretty good couple fights. They have one over there in Philadelphia, I think, next month too, which is a title fight. So it's a fun time to be a UFC fan. As you viewers know, I mean, me and Dylan are still learning the game, learning the fight game on that aspect. But it's interesting. Very interesting sport and fun to watch.
Yeah, I think should definitely at least watch one event, watch a big event. Whenever it's on, everyone's like, "Oh, are you watching it?" Go watch one of them.
Yeah.
It's more entertaining than you would think. It's just such a spectacle of what goes on. So
Hmm.
I think it's worth it. It's nothing else. Give it a shot. Give it a try.
Yep. Yep.
A different thing. Speaking of giving it a try, going to briefly jump into the Tour de France, which not as popular of a sport over here, just as I'd say less popular than soccer, the European sport. But yeah, Taddy Pogacar win again, which is pretty interesting because he's been on a dominant run. I believe he's won now 3 times in a row, which is pretty impressive. I believe that puts him at 4 wins overall, and the impressive run and all of that. But what people might be more interested in is why should I watch the Tour de France? Well, because it gives you the best scenic background that you could probably put on ever. So if it's ever like one of those times if I want something on that's not going to completely grab my attention, it might be a little slow for a little bit. You can put it on, you can hear some nice announcers talking very properly through the microphone. You look over and you see the French Alps. You might see a little village. Just a beautiful scenic thing to watch. And then if you do happen to get into it, there's a bunch of kind of intermediate stage or not stages, but events that you can chase after, whether those are sprint points or mountain climbing that pick up the pace rather than watching the full race, as that can, unless you're a true fan, there's not really a whole lot to it. And even when you're a true fan, sometimes the highlights are very easy to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But I would encourage everyone to go just flip through a couple minutes of it. It's interesting, and when you get to those sprints at the very end, I think those grab your attention. I think for anyone, as you have guys on these bikes racing at about 35, 40 miles per hour, and just seeing who's going to pull through. Are they going to crash as they're all pretty much inches within each other? I think it's a little bit more interesting of, if you like NASCAR or any other kind of racing sport, I think you would get interested in some of it. But that's just a side note. That's its own little thing, not a huge thing. But I believe everyone should just give it one shot. Give it a try. Just watch it. Watch a little clip. It's interesting. Now, going to the next major event is college football. And coming up, large topic. And you want to start by, do you have the power rankings still pulled up?
I can pull them up real quick.
I was going to say we can run through what the power rankings currently are and kind of what we're thinking of. Who's going to be hot, who's going to be not.
I mean, it's the first year. Crazy. I mean, we've talked about it probably on the podcast. First year, you got to win like Indiana. How do they hold the crown? Especially with a guy who we don't know who their quarterback is really this year. But I mean, they're going to be a fun team to watch too, especially with how much money they poured in the NIL. So the CBS Sports rankings, I'm going to read you the top 12 right now.
All right. Yeah, that works.
So Ohio State, Texas, Oregon, Notre Dame, which I don't know how they're in there, Georgia, Indiana, Miami, Texas A&M, Texas Tech, Oklahoma, Alabama, and Ole Miss. Those are your top 12 teams. SU is on the outside looking in. They're playing our alma mater, Clemson. So if they beat us, they're firmly in the top 12.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an interesting environment this year. Ohio State's pretty strong as usual. But they always have the looming Indiana. They're now the defending national champions in the same conference, and they play a big game at Texas this year too. I think week 2.
I like Indiana still, personally. I think you come out last year with a quarterback that was pretty much, I can't say I knew him before the season, and after the season definitely knew who he was. Yep. It was, and so I think a lot of that's coaching and staffing, being able to find that talent in places you wouldn't necessarily expect. And with all the NIL money they do have, I see that team as a likely strong. And I never thought I'd say that. I can't say I thought I'd be talking about Indiana as a top football team anytime in my life, but here we are.
Yep. Ole Miss is in those rankings as well. That's probably a team that's going to drop for sure. A&M's is there. A&M's is in there as well. They should be strong. Bama's. I don't think I've said Bama too. It'll be interesting to see what they do because I mean, if the DeBoer has another 4-win season, he's probably they're going to be calls for his job if he doesn't get farther in the playoffs this year. So, it comes with the coaching at Bama. That's the name of the game there. We look at the other conferences, ACC, Clemson's always in there. Virginia's could be a sleeper team as well. Or Virginia's not really a sleeper team. They're already here. Miami's going to be in there as well in that mix. So ACC's going to be interesting. Texas Tech's pretty interesting this year as well. They have a lot of money in NIL. They're in the news this offseason for a different reason with their quarterback. But they're going to be a fun team to watch in the Big 12.
Yeah, going to be putting in some prop bets on Texas Tech.
Yep. Literally.
Me and their quarterback are going to be doing the same thing.
Yep. I mean, Big Ten, but as far as the best conference in the country, it's firmly the Big Ten. especially when you have heavy hitters like Michigan in there, Ohio State's in there, Indiana's in there, Penn State's in there, and I'm probably missing a hit, Oregon too, in USC. So those are pretty much heavy hitters, and they've dominated the past 3 years in the playoffs too. So they started off with Michigan, Ohio State won, and then now
Mm-hmm.
Indiana's won. So they're firmly, as far as our SEC guys goes, and want to claim they're the
It's
best conference. It's firmly the Big Ten right now for the
Dynasty's a little
foreseeable
bit over
future.
for them.
Oh
It's
yeah,
the SEC now is on the. I think I think they're kind of in the hot seat, the SEC in general, to go prove that they are actually still
yep.
they're the dog. Because right now you don't really see it in them on when you're naming these SEC schools. To me, I'm not really hearing a name that's like
I mean,
for sure a contender, like for sure could go get it.
Texas. I mean, Texas is probably the only one on paper. Um, Texas A&M, Georgia. But you look at these other schools like Bama, your Ole Misses, your Floridas, your Tennessees. I mean, they're not gonna they're not gonna move the needle at all. But I mean, compared to like what 5, 6 years ago, you name those teams, of Bama, your Georgias, you're like, okay, those are just shoe-ins to be in the playoffs. Even Georgia, they have something to prove too. I mean, Gunnar Stockton's a pretty good quarterback, but since their last national championship in 2021, 2022, like
Mm-hmm.
Georgia hasn't done anything.
Right.
They've gotten bounced a couple times. They missed the playoffs one year. They should have probably been in instead of another team. It was the year that Bama got in. That was the year that I think Georgia should have got in too, or should have replaced Bama. It was the year that Florida State got screwed.
Oh, and then
That
Bama
year,
jumped from like six
Bama
to
jumped from
four.
6 to 4, and then Georgia State put at 5 or whatever, and they
Yep.
gave Georgia like the Orange Bowl or whatever, right, or the whatever bowl it was. But
Right.
I mean, Georgia is going back to that point since the national championship. Georgia's been on the cusp. They've been pretty good. I mean, this is in terms of they're not just trash, but they've been on the cusp of like they're still a top SEC team. But now you're not just competing with SEC teams; you compete with the Big Ten, who's better than you right now. So they've got something to prove too.
That's that's
Because
interesting you
Texas,
bring up.
a quarterback like Arch Manning, who's going to what, year 3? Like you have a lot of
Right.
money in that team. You have Sarkisian. You have you have Arch Manning. You have a lot of talent over, and you're looking at this is the best. If not this team, which team? Because this is the team that you should be able to win the SEC in for
This,
sure.
I mean, especially when you come off of you had Quinn Ewers there for 3 or 4 years, and you had a solid team, and every time it looked like you were just, maybe
Yeah,
just a degree of play better, and you win that game, or you go on and you beat Washington, and then you're in.
yeah,
And I think everyone saw Archie as he's going to come in, he's going to be that just one step up that puts us
mm-hmm.
over the hill, and he comes out and does not. I don't think he blows anyone away.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it is. You have growing pains as a quarterback, and
Yeah,
it's very different from being the backup quarterback put in to be, the fill in for the starter versus being
yep.
the starting quarterback. And so I think he might have got hit by some headlights there and got got a little flash and not put together. So this year, does he come out and show I'm that guy in that
Yep.
week 1 game? I don't, and I think if you don't see it, I don't know how much faith I have in Texas. I'm not saying
Long
they're
term.
out of the playoffs or not in, but I don't see them being on that championship run that they should be unless they come out and he really, he just has one of those performances where you're
Blows
looking
them
at it and
away.
you have that it factor is clicked in. He's got it. But right now, I didn't see it from him.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I don't blame him a lot. I mean, there was like little blame I give him for the way he played against Ohio State last year. Especially if it's first game on the road, you're playing the defending national champions. That's a pretty hard thing to go ask a guy who's been on the bench
Mm-hmm.
for about a year to go handle that. But then you look at the rest of the games, like Florida, for example, the Georgias. The way they lost to Georgia, I think they lost to Florida. They almost lost to Florida too. So
Yep.
those games where you should have blown out, I'm sorry, Keely, but you should
Yeah.
have blew out of Florida, and you just really just looked man that game. But I mean, here's the schedule this year. So they have Texas State. He should be able to blow them out. Ohio State second week. UTSA blow them out. Tennessee on the road. Oklahoma a neutral site game. You got Florida at home. You got Ole Miss at home. You got Mississippi State, Missouri. You should beat those teams, and you get into your LSU's, Arkansas, and A&M. So it's a favorable schedule here
Hmm.
and there, but you still got your big dogs with Ohio State, your LSU's, your A&Ms, and your Oklahomas.
Yeah, you got some teams, but it's still you had home games for. I mean, Ohio State was a home game.
Ohio State's a home game. You're on
Yeah.
the road in Knoxville, in neutral site. I mean the Cotton Bowl.
Right.
So you got Florida at home. You got Ole Miss at home, your biggest game for in Texas, for example, your two biggest, I guess your hardest environments at the end of the year. You have LSU on the road, and then you have A&M in 2 weeks on the road in Kyle Field, which it's the Red River. It's the other. I'm sorry, not the Red River. It's a Texas shootout. So
Hmm.
Texas Showdown. So it's your hardest games at the end of the year in terms of like atmosphere wise. But if you go in Ohio State, you go hot, look hot. You're pretty much on a surefire path
Yeah.
going to meet your schedule.
That's going to be the thing. Do they come out and just thump Texas State or
Mm-hmm.
whatever? Or, I want to see them come out, and it's one of those wins where it's like I'm not watching this after the halftime. Like it's cut
Yeah,
off.
yeah.
It's like one of those prime Clemson days where it's the 73-7, and it's like okay, that that's a team right there.
Oh,
Like
our
they got some
freshman, yeah, it was
dogs.
like this game is over. We're going back to lights. He won, and it's like 40-3 at like the first quarter. So it's like
Hmm.
those type of games. But they got to blow out Texas State. But I mean, their game of the year is the second week against Ohio State. That's the one everybody's gonna be watching. They should probably have game day for that. I think it's already been announced.
I
They're
would
gonna have
imagine.
game day for that. So I mean, everybody's watching. So that's literally their playoff game in the middle of the season. So we'll see what happens with Texas. If they don't get it done this year, there's probably be some calls about Sarkisian and
Hmm.
how far you can go with him. Since he's had Quinn Ewers and now Arch Manning and this plethora of talent that they really should have gone further in the playoffs. But then you
Xavier
have
Worthy on that
with him you
team.
have also what happened?
Xavier Worthy when he was with Quinn Ewers, and then I mean,
Yep.
golly, it's
You should have really gone further than you have. And then also at the same time, A&M's in the looming too. I mean, A&M's not a joke school,
mhm,
especially with Mike Elko at the helm. They had a very solid 2 years last year. We're on the cusp of going to play for the SEC championship his first year, and then second year they lose to Miami at home. But it was mostly it was bad quarterback play too that killed them that game. But I mean A&M in the same state, and also Texas Tech with a lot of money. So it's a football state,
yeah,
and it's hard. It's going to be hard to compete for prospects there too,
mhm,
for young talent. So I mean, if not this team, which team? If you're Texas,
right. So I think they're on the hot seat. I believe to prove that their Texas is actually back.
mm-hmm.
I think Texas is a contender, but I want to see them make a deep run here and actually put up some numbers. I think
Yep.
Ohio State's also on that seat of they have to show up this year. I believe you poured a lot of money into NIL, and now's kind of the year to see how does this work out for them.
Yeah.
You saw Indiana come out as just the underdog from nowhere that I don't think anyone would have imagined. So can some other school do that? I don't know. To me, Ohio State has somehow like the bad luck factor on their side of
Mm-hmm.
at some point when they just need it, it just doesn't fall their way or something happens. Personally, I've always been a fan of that because I don't like Ohio State. Shocker, but
Yep. Shock.
shock,
I
but
mean, if we're gonna go on this same trajectory, probably be a team like Texas Tech too. Um, Even though
yeah,
the Big 12 is not a dominant conference like the Big 10, but Texas Tech has a lot of really good players that they've gotten through the portal. They've gotten through NIL, and you save your best games for last.
Mm-hmm.
You certainly can come out like in a Indiana where like 5 years ago you're like, there's no way in hell Indiana or a Texas Tech is competing for a national championship, but yet here we are.
Could be. I want to
Yeah.
see some of that Texas oil money to start really funding these teams. Let's get some players down there.
Yep.
I, I
Well,
want
it's funny
Texas
because
to
those
be.
Texas oil money teams are also competing. There's the thing with Lane Kiffin too, because we could probably talk about that. Like
Oh
Lane
yeah.
Kiffin's only in the state next over, and you're
Mm-hmm.
competing for this. I mean, especially for me growing up there, I remember back in the day, LSU was always competing for the Texas prospects, your Oklahoma prospects, your Mississippi's, your Louisiana for sure. But with Lane, here comes a guy from Ole Miss with a lot of baggage, but I mean, it's still Lane Kiffin. But you're competing against Mike Elko, Sarkisian, Texas Tech's coach. So it's a pretty heavy recruiting environment over there. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, Lane's going to have to pull up a lot of money to compete with these bigger schools.
I think Lane starts his career off there on talking about starting really on the hot seat. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, with how much he just got paid and how much drama he caused to leave,
Yeah,
if that team shows up flat, that's not going to be great for him.
which I
I,
think they will. I think they
I,
will.
I don't have a lot of faith in him. To
I
be
don't think.
honest,
Yeah, go ahead. I'm in full agreement with you. I don't believe in LSU this year at all.
I don't believe getting a coach that causes that much drama can be beneficial for the locker room or for any of the players coming there. I
Mm-hmm.
think how he exited was terrible. Um, that's a whole different podcast talking about NCAA regulations and standards of
Yeah.
how that's all working out. But
Mm-hmm.
how everything's gone down with him and how much money they're paying him, I don't love this. I see it as a
That
terrible match.
Well, that and the fact that their quarterback, as soon as they play Clemson, I think that's literally he's only been on the team for 2 weeks, like in full pads and practicing, because they got a quarterback. I think it was the Sam Levitt, right, from Arizona State this past offseason, or went to LSU, is now Lane's quarterback. I think he had a shoulder injury this entire offseason. So he's been only practicing for like this entire month, which there's probably going to be chemistry issues against a team like Clemson, who's been together for what a lot of these players on Clemson have been together for like 2-3 years now. So, and we have a lot of young talent that can compete with these guys. So, as much as we joke around that they're going to blow us out of the doors, it's obviously a scary environment to go play in, but it
Mm-hmm.
might be closer than what people think. It's going to be a lot closer because I mean we don't know what the quarterback is right now for Clemson,
Yep.
but we certainly don't know what LSU is. Like at least we know what Clemson is, and we have
Right.
talent. We have Dabo. We have Tyler Brown. We have all those Randall. We have all these guys, right? Not Adam Randall
Mm-hmm.
anymore. But all these guys that we've gone to know, and certainly we Clemson alums we know very well. But
Yeah.
LSU, like nobody knows what they are this year, outside of the fact that they have Lane Kiffin. So it's going to be it's going to be a lot closer than what people make it out to be. And who knows? Maybe Clemson does pull off a win there, or Lane gets his first signature win. We don't know. Such a question mark game. Like nobody knows what this game could be.
See, if I'm Dabo, I think that's my game I want to sneak this season. I think that's my Super Bowl. That is my championship game.
Yep.
I don't think
We have to win.
you don't have a playoff. I don't see a playoff run in our future. Very unlikely. But I think if we can
Mm-hmm.
sneak one big win, I think that does a lot for the kind of the rumor mill that's been going on of Dabo's lost it and all of this. I think he pulls out one win. You go on an away game, Baton Rouge, and you sneak out a win there. That's very big. On the other hand, LSU, I think then you really have to talk about, was this move? You obviously have to see how the next games play out, but
Yeah.
I think that is a very big warning shot if they do drop that game.
Yeah. So I will disagree with you there about the playoffs. I do think it really depends on what Clemson team we see against LSU. If they do rattle off a win in LSU, because of what happened last year, everything just fell apart after that game. and you just couldn't get the team together. If they rattle off a win against LSU, our schedule is pretty favorable. The only scary games I have on our schedule is Miami, which is in Death Valley. And for whatever reason, I'm very scared to play Cal and Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech, I just think James Franklin's going to want a signature win. And Georgia Tech beat us last year. They rushed the field against us. So beating Clemson is everybody's signature win still, even though we haven't been the kings of college football in a very long time. And the ACC wise, we have been. But I think for James Franklin, it would really be a massive statement to come into Death Valley and beat us his first year, because that does a lot for recruiting too. And then Miami's just Miami. They're in the national championship last year, probably a couple plays away from either winning that game or going to overtime. So if Clemson can reel off a win against LSU, we're not out of the playoff hunt. If Clemson can win a game against LSU, that's a significant boost for our playoff chances, because I think ESPN has us right now at 22%. I'm sure if we lose, it probably drops. But this probably goes in our next topic of Cade versus Vizina versus Tate. I trust, after seeing what happened last year with Vizina on the field, I trust our guys to come around Vizina as the leader if we do lose this game. And if we win or lose, I think this team does revolve around Vizina better than it does Cade. And in terms of leadership purposes, to where if we do drop this game, we're going to be fine. We can beat Miami. We can get in the rankings, and then beat whoever else is on our schedule pretty soundly. But if we win this game, it does significant boost to our playoff chances, and in terms of the ACC.
I think it could definitely. I don't think you're. The part that I think this team's going to have some growing pains. That is probably. That just makes it very hard to come out of the ACC if you're not very close to that perfect schedule. I think there's so many better teams that we've talked about in the Big 10, Big 12, SEC that have a chance of getting one of those spots that Clemson's not. You go win. If you get into the ACC championship and you win a game there, but that's going to be a big ask, as we've seen from the past couple of years of Clemson teams. That's not a guaranteed anymore of a shoe-in, spot in that. So I'm just not completely sold on this team being a playoff team yet. I think you're not wrong. I'm not saying the door's shut on them, but I think it's just going to be an uphill battle for them pretty significantly. So go ahead.
Yeah, like this Clemson team, it's like, okay, if we do get the momentum boost from LSU, probably a 10-win, 11-win team right there. If like everything, if we do lose against LSU and we have some close wins and losses, probably a 6-win, 7-win team. But it really comes down to what we look like against LSU. But I mean, on paper, we look like a pretty stout team that can take it to anybody in the ACC right now.
I think a lot of Clemson fans would be pretty happy with if you have an 8-win season that involves beating LSU as one of those wins. I think people are a lot more happy with that than having the 10-win season and you lose against LSU and you beat pretty much a couple ACC teams and don't make the playoffs.
Yeah,
if you're not making the playoffs,
Miami, you lose against Miami. You lose against if here's the thing, if LSU is bad this year, if LSU is good this year, it looks pretty good on a record if we do lose Miami. But if LSU is bad this year and we beat LSU but we lose Miami, it really hurts our playoff chances.
You never know how everything's going to play off until you get to that final week. So it'll be interesting. I do have high hopes. I don't think this team's going to be bad. I think we could be on the uphill of our trajectory, hopefully, as Clemson fans. So we will see. I'm interested to see how the quarterback play turns out. I think he's going to be pretty good. I can't say for certain yet. Haven't got to really see what it's like when he's the starter. But hopefully now we have some motion going, or something positive to look forward to. That's that's the only thing.
Yeah, especially with Clemson's quarterback play since what Trevor has been up and down. I mean, we were there as
Hmm.
students, especially with your wife. We talked about it all the time. Like, okay, well, DJ just completely just killed the momentum of this program. And it is, it's not just him; it's different factors too, coaching staff, yada yada yada. But I mean, with for now, it seems like okay, well, we're in a good place where we have a guy, Christopher Vizina, who's been in the system for 2-3 years now, and then we have Tate Reynolds, who is. I mean, you talked to Grayson in your last podcast. Like
Hmm.
Grayson thinks the world of Tate, and has seen him perform, seen him, heard talk to coaches about him, and everybody he's talking to is like he's the next guy. Um, whether that's if he comes in against LSU, I don't know, but
Hmm.
definitely he's one of those guys that if Vizina plays against LSU and plays pretty well, and then we have a Charleston Southern I think the week after, definitely we see Tate Reynolds against Charleston Southern for a half. Like we're not playing Vizina the whole game, and if we're beating up on them pretty soundly, we'll definitely see some Tate Reynolds in the offense and run the offense. I don't think it's going to be like before like the media days and all that kind of other stuff before camp versus camp. Like people were saying, oh, this is gonna be a Trevor Kelly Bryant type situation, but there's no clear like Tate Reynolds is not Trevor Lawrence. Like
Hmm.
there's no like okay, this guy walks in the building and he's like he's your best player. Like you just look at him like that's there's no reason this
Right.
guy shouldn't be starting. But the Tate doesn't have that yet, or we don't know if Tate has that even in general. So it's great to know that there's a quarterback competition. It's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top at the end of the season. But
Hmm.
I'm still a CV guy. I think CV's going to be pretty good. Especially learning the offense under 2 years or what 2 years now.
Hmm.
Taj Boyd working with him. Chad Morris offense and Taj. It's funny enough. Taj was in the Chad Morris offense himself, so there's no better person to learn under Chad Morris than no better to learn the Chad Morris offense than Taj Boyd, who ran it.
Yep.
So, and it's an offense that really, especially watching back in the day, Chad Morris knows how to get the ball to your playmakers. So, getting them Sammy Watkins, getting them the Nuke Hopkins, those type of guys. So, that emphasis is going to be pretty fun to watch CV run, or that
Hmm.
offense is going to be run watch CV run this year.
I am more excited about our offense to see just if it's going to do, how's it going to do any better, hopefully.
Yeah.
I think everyone just got tired. I don't think the Garrett Riley system really, I don't think it worked. I think
Mm-mm.
that's pretty clear. No,
No,
otherwise we wouldn't be talking about it.
no.
You
I
know,
mean, the guy tried to run the dirt raid, and it just isn't. The thing with that is outside of, TCU that one year, then they got killed against Georgia, and I don't want to shade Garrett Riley because he's probably a nice guy, but it's just like what have you done since then? What have you done outside of that? I mean, like Clemson,
hmm
you had the talent too, um, but you just really the offense just became stale and was extremely confusing to watch for the longest time. It was pretty frustrating too, especially when you had guys like Cade, you had guys like Phil Maffa, Will Shipley there, I think, for about a year. But you just didn't get your playmakers the ball. And a guy
Yep.
like Chad Morris gets your playmakers the ball.
That's what I think. That's what everyone was frustrated the most with. If you have all this talent around you, and you just never saw it really get utilized. You never saw
Mm-hmm.
everyone kind of the meshing was just off and on. I mean, I don't want to say they never meshed, but when you watch them play, you'd have some games where it's like, wow, they're everything's clicking and firing, and then you'll go into the next game and no one seems to be on the same page. So
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of it. Of you don't have that kind of let's go get you the ball, let's go find ways to get you involved. It was more just I don't know. It was confused. It was really honestly confusing.
Yeah, even especially when you have guys like Tyler Brown, Randall, you have Antonio Williams, like those guys should be able to get them the ball a lot more,
Hmm.
especially utilize their talents. But then those are sometimes you just never really saw that, and they didn't get the touches they should have. And then the touches they should have gotten were like given to like guys like Cole Turner or whatever. So it's like it's ridiculous stuff like that. But
Right.
not to shade Cole Turner because he's a fine receiver. but just not the level of like a Tyler Brown.
Yeah, it's not necessarily your first guy that you'd be like, let's throw the ball, let's go get him the ball.
Yep.
But we are going to find out how things go now.
Mm-hmm.
So, in the interest of this, who are you taking right now? Is if you had to pick a team, who are you saying is out of the 12 teams in the top 12, or you can go out of there, I guess. But who is your most likely winner, and then who is your most likely biggest disappointment?
I mean, most likely winner. I would say, as a Texas fan, I'd want to say us. Um, Ohio State's probably the most likely winner here. If Indiana, I mean, if they can pull off a win against Indiana, they're pretty much in the driver's seat in the Big Ten. Not only in the Big Ten, but the entire college football landscape. Um, Oregon, Oregon's gonna be in that fight too. But I mean, Oregon's the 0-0 for a reason. That you haven't seen them win anything, especially with all that talent they've had and a Heisman Trophy winner. So they'll be fun to watch. But I don't think they've got a national championship this year. Georgia will be interesting, but I mean, going to your original question, I think if I had to bet money on a team to win, I would probably go Ohio State. Um, Biggest disappointment. I mean, Notre Dame. Notre Dame's in the top 5 for whatever reason this year again. And Notre Dame's schedule is a joke, but I mean, they will get in the playoff of the way their schedule set up. But they're
guaranteed playoff team every year.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest disappointment. I mean, everybody in the top 12 right now. I mean, we probably said it LSU. We probably said that. I mean, LSU, Ole Miss is in the top 10 again, top 12. And nobody. I mean, Ole Miss is still decent, but not going to be what they were last year. But I would say my probably the safest bet would go Ohio State, just based on what the talent they have, the schedule they have, and all the other outlying factors there. And then the biggest disappointment would probably be LSU and Ole Miss.
I think those are very good picks. I personally, I think I have high hopes for Indiana. Um, I I like their coach. I like the system he kind of has in place. He kind of reminds me of that old style coach, and really, like not harsh, but stern, and like it seems like he's really kind of implementing. This is what we're doing versus seems like other.
He's a modern day Nick Saban. If Nick Saban was in the if Nick Saban actually got into the NIL, as he refused to do, which I don't blame him, which is probably smartest man alive. But to get out when he did, but he's a Nick Saban type coach that knows how to use the NIL pretty substantially compared to everybody else right at this point. So
I think he has something set up there. I think there's something brewing in Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be. I would put my chips on them.
Yeah,
but I have to agree. I think LSU's a disappointment. I think Alabama might. I think this might be the year that the lid finally blows off the kettle, and it's just we got to find something else.
Yeah,
I think they come out flat. I think it's not a. I think this is time that they have to go look for someone else.
So, but I was thinking Bama too, because I think I mentioned it earlier in the pod. I'm like, if they're a 4-loss team this year, 5-loss team, DeBoer's probably out of there. Just based on the standards of Bama, he's not Here's the thing, I think DeBoer's a pretty good coach, but is he a good coach for Bama? He should have never taken that job, because Bama the price of being at Bama is you're always going to be compared to Saban, and they expect a 1-loss, undefeated, 2-loss team. And DeBoer's not that. He's not an SEC guy per se. He came from the Pac-12, the dead Pac-12 now at Washington, which he did a pretty good job coaching there. But if he just so happened to gets fired from Bama this year, he should be the number 1 pick to go to a Big Ten conference, a West Coast school, a Big Ten team, or a Big 12 school, and he would make a lot of noise there because he's a pretty good coach, but just probably not the right fit at Bama. But I mean, who would have known that at the time? It's just, especially with jobs, you just got to find the right fit. and if he finds the right fit, he's going to succeed more than he would at Bama.
That was also the hardest job to probably follow up on in
Mm-hmm.
close to all of history. That's following up Nick Saban after his dynasty run at Alabama is not a job you really, I don't think anyone wants to take. So kudos for him for going and giving it a shot. But I do think the next hire probably has a slightly easier standard of the fact you're at least one person removed from that time period, and you're starting to kind of. I mean, Nick Saban's never going to go away as long as you say Alabama.
Yep.
He's going to be cemented there forever. But at least you're not following the next season up. You know, that's a very tough spot to be. So it will be.
Also, at the same time, DeBoer doesn't know how to because also there's like a political aspect of being a head coach of a football team, right? Or a college football. You got to be able to handle donors. You got to be able to handle the board of directors. You got to be able to handle like the outside entities, whatever or the team. Like Saban knew how to work with the donors. If they had problems, they went to him. And I don't think DeBoer. The problem is DeBoer doesn't know how to work with the Bama donors the way Saban did, because he had them by the chain. Like they did not take Nick Saban. They did not take Nick Saban did not take any demands from them. But now that say have somebody in the program like a DeBoer per se, that can do what they ask. It's just different. It's a different type of political thing that he's having to deal with there, and then also more money, more pressure, being at Alabama and having those high expectations, and than you had at Washington, which you blew away every single expectation you had there when you made the playoff and you went as far as you did.
Mm-hmm. We are going to see how it goes, and very good. I think there's a very good chance we're talking about someone new at Alabama. I think that's a conversation that's coming down the pipe unless they win out.
So a fun question here is: do you think there'll be, because we haven't had a repeat champion in a while? Do you think if you were to, not to make it in the gambling thing, but if you were to bet right now that there would be a repeat champion, would you take it? Because I don't think there would be a repeat champion this year.
I think Indiana can repeat. I think you have a really good program set up there. I got to be honest. I think you have a lot of talent there. You have the systems in place that you don't necessarily have everywhere else, as we've kind of discussed throughout this. I think you have so much kind of magic in the area there that I think you have something special happen. And I will throw my one caveat. I think it could explode and go maybe not well. You know, that's possible. You come out and everyone has these expectations, and this team doesn't live up to last year's team. It could happen.
Yeah.
I just see it more as if this is truly going to be something special, they come out this year and they at least make a run to where they're in that Final Four championship game.
Yeah.
So I think it's very possible. I think it's more possible than any year we've had past, I would say.
I would think that's where Indiana, for me, I think that's where Indiana ends up, is in the Final Four. I think even though I've mentioned them very briefly, they're still a very good team. Like, let's not get that wrong. They're still atop of the Big Ten for a reason. They're the defending national champions. They have the best coach in college football right now. They are an exceptional team. But here's the thing: there's a lot of, it's hard to repeat in sports. It's really hard to repeat in sports. So if Indiana can pull it off in this year, they're going to be one of the biggest dynasties we've had in a while. But it's very hard to repeat. They're a great team. But we'll just have to see. We'll have to see where they go.
At the end of the day, we will just have to sit back and see how it all unfolds for everybody, because it will be interesting. And I think the most important part here is that there's a lot of players in the game and a lot of different things, a lot of different outcomes we could have here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be curious on who's going to actually show up and not, and could be completely wrong, but hopefully we're not completely wrong. That'd be tough.
Especially a situation to watch is what's his name, the USC coach, not Garrett, Lincoln Riley. Like, what does
Yeah.
he do? Because USC is vastly, since Caleb Williams has underperformed, and since with Caleb Williams too, like they've underperformed in terms of expectations.
Yeah.
Because when you get a guy like Lincoln Riley there, you steal him from Oklahoma, and you're like, okay, this team should be going to the national championship or getting close to, and they've got nowhere close. So does USC pull the plug on Lincoln Riley? That's a thing to watch over this whole entire season. Is that you're playing in a bigger? Yeah, we get you're playing in a bigger conference now, but we brought you here to compete and not be a fringe playoff team, 8-win team, 9-win team. We brought you here to win 10, 11 games. So
Hmm.
and you're supposedly one of the best coaches in college football, and you have USC, which is a lot of money too. So that could
Right.
be something to watch if we're sitting here in November or September and October, and USC is
Yeah.
not performing expectations. Does he get the can?
Yeah. I'll take the only team really from that West. I think Oregon's pretty safe. I think Oregon consistently shows up and delivers year earlier on in
Mm-hmm.
Dan's kind of tenure. But I think they at least make a run into it every year. It's just the problem of you don't. I don't think just something about the size. I don't know what happens, but when you go watch those like O line and D lines when they match up with like with Ohio State or with like a big, like a bigger school,
Yeah.
somehow they always just look like they get out physical every time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why that is. I don't know, but it's definitely led to a season of why they can't finish the process. You get to that championship or Final Four, and you just get beaten out by someone that has that physical factor.
That
So
and Oregon's also known for like offense, and whenever they play, especially if it happens to Oregon all the time, when they play a good defense, they usually get stopped. Like they're high flying offense. Always been known for that since Chip Kelly,
mhm,
but and it really came into fruition or really came into prominence under Marcus Mariota and Justin Herbert.
right,
And now they have one of the top quarterbacks in the next draft, and I forget number 5, but I mean they've whenever they play a good defense or a pretty stout team, like Oregon can beat everybody else, but they can never somehow get over the hump against elite talent. Like other elite talent, they can always do it in the regular season, but in the postseason, they just never can do it.
it doesn't happen. I don't know what it is. I would love to see that changed, and I think the one thing they
Mm-hmm.
do have going for them right now, they are kind of just one of that
Sleeper
kind
teams
of
now. They've really become a
yeah,
sleeper team. Really.
pretty much. They're just kind of sitting in the shadows. You think they're going to be good, but I don't think anyone knows what their true ceiling is.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a chance to, you come out and maybe you get a favorable kind of playoff lineup. You can see them I can see them sneaking into the championship there if you get a good lineup of who you got to play. That's what it really comes down to.
Which is crazy because we're referring to Oregon as a sleeper team. They're still a top 6 team as of the rankings. They're still a top 6 team and top 5 team in the country right now. But nobody is talking about Oregon as a national championship contender. Can beat Indiana on a neutral site. Can beat an Ohio State. Like nobody's talking about them on an aspect. But if they do get to the Big Ten title game, I think everything's on the table at that point. I mean, it's a neutral site game. It's hard to win. It's a conference championship for God's sake. So it could be. I mean, who knows? Maybe it is Oregon's year that they finally do it in the area. And Lanning's a
I,
great coach too. They have a really good coach.
I think they have a chance, and I think it would be good to see them finally go out and win one. You've had so
Mm-hmm.
many years of where you're just on the cusp every time, and it just has not fallen their way a single time. So I think it'd be good for them. I think it'd be good for the sport. You get a new champion. That's always interesting to see. And in this era that we've kind of moved into now, you've seen a couple new champions come up and arise. So
Who has who has more pressure to win? Do you think it's Texas or Oregon?
Texas,
Texas for
I,
sure.
I,
Same here.
yeah, I don't think I don't see
For
a
the
tie.
reasons we talked about earlier.
Yeah,
It's just Texas. You have to win. You have to win. This is your year.
everything's bigger in Texas. That's
Yep.
just how it goes. You
Yep.
got more hippies out in Oregon than, well, I guess in Austin you might have quite a few hippies or not. I don't know, but yeah, there's a lot of pressure in Texas. If I had to pick one place, that's what I'll go with. Now I think can transition a little bit into the more fun, open-ended question. Bouncing back to the NBA, if you were to get your own franchise and you got the award to pick one player off of any team to start with, what player would you pick outside? I think we both agreed Victor Wembanyama is a clear one. So outside of Victor, is there what player would you kind of pick around?
For me, I would pick Cooper Flag. I think he was an incredible rookie season last year. Unfortunate situation in Dallas of them being not a great team overall, and also with the Kyrie injuries and Anthony Davis traded or whatever. But if you get it right, if you get the right talent around Cooper Flag, I think he could be a really really good player in this league. I mean Jalen Brunson. I mean, kind of an obvious answer too. If we're looking at older talent too,
Mm-hmm.
Brunson would be a great player to put a team around, but there's no way he's leaving New York, and there's no way I'm taking him from New York at this point. You can't take the
Yeah.
king of New York away from New York.
No.
Since he's reached the status of he can call any restaurant in New York that has a reservations out for 3 months, and I need a reservation tonight. They'll get a table for him and give him free wine. So there he has no problem in New York anymore. I mean, Maxey would be a good answer too, Tyrese Maxey. Since Philadelphia is kind of doing that right now. They're kind of, Embiid's a little bit older, but I mean, Maxey has been an incredible young player for about 2-3 years now. So that would be my answer is Flag. It's crazy because it would have been Banchero a couple of years ago. I think Paulo Banchero is a fun player to watch, but he just really hasn't lived up to the hype that he should have, despite being on the Magic for a couple of years now. So
yeah, he's had a fairly decent tenure on the Magic. He has not pulled them over the hump, but I think trying to do that on the Magic is a tough ask.
Yeah,
You don't really have a whole squad around him. No, and in the playoffs, he played pretty well. I don't know if I don't want to misspeak on him, but I thought in Game 6 or 7 he showed up. I thought he showed up maybe flatter. Maybe he didn't. I don't know. Either way, I think they lost, but I think he's solid. It's just now, is he at his peak? Is there any more room for him to go up? I think is the question that I would be wondering. Like, is that ceiling already here? And I would kind of be leaning towards you're closer to it than you're further away from it, would be my idea. I think Flag's hard to argue. I think Victor's obviously when you're talking both of them, you have size, you have guard skills, you have shooting ability. You just have this whole package that you can't replicate. You can't go find a player like that. You're not going to go find a 7-footer that can move like either of them. I like Flag. Honestly, I like Flag a little bit. I was going to take him regardless. But I like Flag a lot because he's a little bit shorter, but to me, he moves just a little bit better. I think he moves a little bit more like a KD with the actual guard skills. Victor, I think, is just kind of agile for his size, but that's very big for his size. Like
we've talked about it. Like Victor should not be playing like KD. He should be playing like down low. But he has KD. He has KD shooting. But his body should be playing down low because if he learns a post move, he's going to be unstoppable.
I think you move it to where he needs to follow more like you blend Jokic and KD's game of you can have this kind of dominant 5 that can spread the floor and space it. He's not ever going to be a big like Shaq was or any of them, but you add in some of those moves where he can now go create his own offense and be dominant. Cooper to me is he can be your 3 guard and he'd also be your 5 guard and he'd probably also be a 1. Like, and play all of those positions pretty true to him to where whatever lineup you want to put around him, he definitely has positions where he would, be more of the star than not. But he can make any team probably work around him of who you can get. So to me, it's going to be interesting what does Dallas do with that now. I like that. I really like them having Kyrie and him actually getting to. I think he's learning a lot. It seems, even though you haven't had Kyrie on the floor with him a whole lot, but I think mentorship wise, it seems like he's probably getting a lot of things they wouldn't otherwise get. So going to be interesting on how much he continues to develop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Flag is a good choice. I mean, in terms of this class, Caleb Wilson, we talked about it earlier from the Chicago Bulls, very promising. Just thinking around the league, I mean, usually, I mean, if you want to talk about older stars, I mean, I guess Luka Doncic would be up there.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny. Like even with LeBron, years ago, it was like LeBron was like the number one guy to build your team around, like by far. It was like a close vote. Curry would be up there, but I mean, in terms of like young players, Flag is probably the guy. I mean, Anthony Edwards too. We didn't even mention him. Like Anthony Edwards is a pretty good player in the league. He's 26 years old, about to enter his prime, and they got him LaMelo Ball this offseason, which is going to be a fun team to watch. But I mean, he's always been a guy that can. I mean, he's taken down playoff teams by himself. Like Anthony Edwards is that good. So, and I don't think we've seen the best of him yet. So I think I think the world of Anthony Edwards. If he's on that selection list, I would probably take him too. Or it would be a hard debate between Anthony Edwards and Cooper Flag. If I'm going for younger, I'm going Flag, obviously. But if I'm going like raw, like potential, I would absolutely take Anthony Edwards. I think he's an incredible player.
I think he is one player that's very good and is not at their prime yet. I think he still has room to go. Yeah, so I think that he has a big upside still. But everything we've talked about, there is a lot of things going on in sports, and it's going to be interesting to see how everything plays out. Whether you're a soccer fan, a basketball, football, whatever it is, everything's constantly changing. So hopefully we just
our baseball fans, it's probably going to be a lockout for an entire year. Like there probably won't be baseball season next year.
Well, that'll be interesting. That'll be another thing that we'll have to add that on the next. Talk about it as that happens, as things progress and get to it. But overall, sports always staying entertaining.
Yep.
Never a dull moment. So thank you, Armani, for doing this. I appreciate it. It has been a pleasure, and we will catch you on the next one.
Always my pleasure, man. Always good to hop on here and talk some sports with you.